Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge. In today's episode, talk to me any way you please? Nah. Have fun losing the entire staff along with the juiciest of juicy contracts. My manager is physically and emotionally abusive, so I get her undercover bossed and fired. Don't pay me for months? Enjoy unburying your car. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Talk to me any way you please? Nah. Have fun losing the entire staff along with the juiciest of juicy contracts. This is a super throwback, but it still brings a smile to my face. Also, my writing sucks, so please excuse the grammatical errors. I was a rink rat growing up. The only day I wasn't in the skating rink were the adult and gay nights. Calm down, it was the 90s, and that's literally what it was called. Friday night, Saturday morning and night along with Sunday morning and night I was there. Hell, I didn't even leave between the morning and night sessions. I even went Tuesday nights as well. I was serious too. I dove deep into speed skating and not trying to toot my own horn, but I was pretty good and well known. Anyway, I'd been going to this specific skating rink for years and knew everyone. One day, it was right before I started 7th grade, the owner came up to me and asked me to go out onto the rink floor and tell some kids to slow down. I did and came back and he asked me how would I like to make $7.50 an hour, to which I responded, do I also get in for free? He laughed and said of course. Boom. First job and I wanted to be there anyway, so it was the biggest win-win of all time for me. To say I loved it was an understatement, and I did everything besides work the snack bar. DJ, skate counters, floor guard, janitor, hype man. You name it and I did it. It was some of the greatest times of my life. So much fun, and the owner was super awesome. Also, we were paid under the table, so getting an envelope full of cash every week just felt like a bonus for having fun. To me it wasn't a job, it was pure fun. It also helped that all my friends were regulars as well. A few years go by and the owner sold to another guy who we will call Tim. Tim could be an absolute nightmare to work for. He changed the entire dynamic of the place and everyone felt it. Now, this skating rink was popular and extremely old. Lots of people all over the city knew of it. My mom and aunt skated there when they were kids, if that tells you anything. Some way or another the new owner set up a juicy deal that had the rink started making a shitload of money. On Saturday night from 7 to 11 it was skating per usual, but from 11-2ish/3ish was a club. A local hip-hop station came in there with local label Swishahouse and turned the place upside down for those few hours. Every week and the place was poppin'. There must have been over 2K people in there on average, and at $20 per person it adds up quick, plus the snack bar would never stop turning out food and drink. We were making stupid money. Bonus. We also found some good stuff when cleaning up as well. Money, knives, weed, jewelry. It was awesome. So Tim has it made, but sometimes he would fly off the handle for little things. All of us weren't sure what his deal was, but he would explode out of nowhere and start talking all kinds of nonsense. I'd started to have enough because we all had worked there for many years without issue. One night he went too far. I don't like being called outside of my name. It's a respect thing. My own mother didn't do it, and he for sure wasn't. For context, I was in 10th grade now. One night he was in some kind of mood and for whatever reason was taking it out on everyone. I don't remember the exact situation, but he started freaking out on me at about 11:30 p.m. Now, Slim Thug and Paul Wall were in the building that night, so the place was extra packed. Way more than usual. I'm sure we were breaking all kinds of fire marshal rules, lol. He went ballistic and called me every name in the book while I just stood there with rage building up in me. I'd had enough. For years this place ran flawlessly and everyone loved us, so he really didn't have a good reason to treat us in the manner he did. My plan was formed. I immediately gathered everyone else that was working, and we all decided that enough was enough. It was time for a lesson. I assembled the entire crew and all quit on the spot. All of us. That meant nobody to serve food, clean, help the Swishahouse people, or just carry out general things that needed to be done when 2-3K people were in the building. He was stunned, his tone changed, and he became very sweet. We weren't having it. As an additional fuck you, I called the other two people that were off, and they showed up to quit as well. Tim had already reached out, so he assumed they were showing up to work. Nope. We left him with 0 workers on the absolute busiest of busy nights, and boy did it implode. He couldn't find anyone to work, so the place went to absolute shit that night. The on-duty officer told him he needed to figure something out or he was going to close it down without workers. Well, he didn't. It closed down that night, and apparently without staff it got nasty. People started having sex, smoking, trashing the place, and all kinds of stuff. Shortly after, the radio station and label took their business elsewhere, and not long afterward the place closed down. He lost his entire investment. This was very bittersweet for me because I loved the place, but he ran it into the ground. The building is still standing, and I would love to bring it back to its former glory, but my pockets are deep enough yet. Maybe one day. My manager is physically and emotionally abusive, so I get her undercover bossed and fired. One summer I was working as a server at a well-known pizza restaurant. It was in a small tourist town, so it was amazing money, and as a university student, that was all that mattered to me. This job was so horrible that I would go home wanting to quit, count my tips, and decide I could put up with it for one more day. The reason it was so horrible was because of the manager, Tracy. Tracy was hot-headed, irrational, a liar, a manipulator, and overall a terrible human being. I watched her terrorize the other servers and kind of kept my head down to avoid it. Examples of her being awful. She once screamed at me because the entire restaurant didn't have cutlery on the tables. Because the restaurant physically didn't have enough and she was too cheap to order more. I was in the middle of filling drinks for a table when she made me stop and go into the kitchen to run the dishwasher. She then yelled at me because that table didn't have full drinks. This all happened in front of a guest who ended up saying something to Tracy about her behavior. After Tracy left, the guest assured me that she was going to be reporting her. Once another server was running her food. Tracy physically grabbed the server by the arm and pulled her back into the kitchen because that server didn't run the ticket before hers. They got into a screaming match and the cops were called. The server sent me photos of her bruised arm the next day. Tracy played the cops like a fiddle and was like that never happened and batted her eyelashes. I'm not sure how she got away with that. My sister was the hostess and was only making $12 a week in tip out. The other servers and I did the math, and my sister should have been taking home $40 a night. Ironically, Tracy had a new boat and a new truck. My sister messed up, I don't remember how, and Tracy took me into the back of the restaurant to scream at me. We were out there for a full 15 minutes before the supervisor told her they needed me back. This supervisor was an angel, and she comes back into the story a bit. This was a while ago, and I'm sure I'll think of more, but for now I will continue with the story. Tracy's reputation in the town was awful. The locals would not eat there because of her. In a small community, everyone had a story about her. I would get sympathy when people found out where I worked. So that tells you just how bad it was. Supervisors told the franchisees about how bad the working conditions were, but every time they would investigate, she would turn into a completely different person. She was kind and helpful, and working for that side of her wasn't so bad. But when they weren't there, the working conditions were awful again. It seemed like they would never catch her in her natural element. The revenge part of my story began on my last day of work. We had a health inspection and failed, so I knew Tracy would be particularly awful that day. I looked at the angel of a supervisor and told her that if Tracy screamed at me, then I was walking out. The supervisor said she wouldn't blame me and didn't know why I had put up with it for so long. So anyways, Tracy gets in and of course she starts yelling at me until I start crying. I finished my last table and walked out, taking my sister with me. Down 2 staff members, the restaurant was in trouble. We drove by it 30 minutes later and there was a line up out the door because there was no hostess seating people. Tracy had to seat people and serve my section. When I got home, I messaged all the staff that had quit over the summer. I told them that I was whistleblowing and that they should too. The girl that was physically assaulted ended up writing a letter and sending photos of her bruised arm. My letter ended up being 2 pages long, single-spaced, and included everything I've mentioned, with emphasis on her having 2 different personalities when the franchisers were there. A few months later, my sister got a message from the dishwasher saying that Tracy got fired and the angel supervisor took her position. Because of that, I decided to go back the following summer. I was hired immediately. While working there, I discovered the results of my actions. The restaurant was rated the lowest in the country under Tracy's management. This, coupled with the whistleblowers and the civilian complaints, resulted in serious investigation. I don't remember how high up in the company he was, but a higher-up ended up going to the restaurant under the intent that he was a new supervisor coming to help because she was short-staffed. He observed her behavior for 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks he told her, here's the step-by-step plan of how we're going to fix the restaurant. Her response was, who the FK do you think you are? I guess when he told her, the expression on her face was priceless. I wish I saw it. Anyway, she obviously got fired and is now working at a fast food pizza place in the same town. The place is always empty because the locals still actively boycott her. I know it was long, but thanks for sticking with me. Don't pay me for months? Enjoy unburying your car. My stepdad works as a landscaper and does snow in the winter. He had many clients in one townhouse community. One time he had this lady who was a regular client at first, always paid on time, always polite, etc. However, over time, the lady started to get slow with her payments, and wasn't home when he was there. Eventually she fell behind, and when my stepdad went to collect, she had the audacity to say, I have never seen you in my life. In a stern voice, not acting like someone with dementia or someone who genuinely didn't recognize the person. Afterwards he asked his other clients in the neighborhood about her, and they all said she was insane. Cue the revenge. Fixed it. My stepdad makes it a point to recruit both of her neighbors as new clients. My stepdad comes back with his friend after a 1.5-foot snowstorm. There are 2 driveways to the left and right of hers, with way the townhouses are set up. He instructs his friend to blow every inch of snow from both driveways directly onto hers, and they get to work. They purposely did this when she was home, and she came out livid. His friend pretended to not speak English, and my stepdad said, probably with the biggest grin on his face, I'm sorry, have never seen you in my life. And left. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.